Hi everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining me. As is the new habit, one I am still struggling with. Let's get right into it. Happy belated birthday to Louis, who turned 8 yesterday. I was indeed out for the day and did not wish to get back online when I got back. So therefore, a belated birthday wish. Louis is turning into a handsome young man. I predict that he will be the looker in the family when they are all older. George, I think, will be the tall one, and Louis, the handsome one. I've heard a few stories about the children recently, but I'm not going to share it. My opinion, from what I heard, is that George is indeed very aware of who he is and what he is supposed to become one day, and in a way, away from home and among his peers, he may be exploiting it just a little. My opinion, nothing else, based on what I was told, but it may not have been meant that way, okay? I do know that William and Catherine had in the past disciplined George for some witty behavior. It did come out in mainstream media, okay, so it wouldn't be anything strange, I guess. How they are disciplining their children, I also don't know. I do not think it will be a smack on the bum. More like a talking to, I guess. Something I just somehow feel will not have a major impact in the long run. But I'm spitballing here. I truly do not know. We all know William has a temper, so I do believe he gives George or any one of the children, as good as it gets when necessary. I also heard that Louis does not only have a cute face, but that he is indeed a very lovable child who has no issue giving someone a hug, etc., etc. However, he is also a busy little soul with a rather short attention span, but it is getting better. The lady who spoke about the children said she is just praying that they do not rein Louis in too much, as he is such a funny, yet in a way old soul who really just wants to be a child, to be a kid. Okay. Okay, folks, as we wish Louis a very happy birthday and all three the Wales children everything of the best, we unfortunately have to talk about that bloody 40-year-old child which Charles and the British government are setting free among the unsuspecting people of the world. And why? Why? Well, I'm going to try and tell you exactly why, in my opinion, to distract us, to divert our attention to that bald, bum-fluff, drug-addled little twat who thinks he's God's gift to the universe with his pompous voice and gutter wisdom, which he thinks he is uplifting humanity with. Good golly, who in their right mind would be falling for that? But before I get to Haz's speech, please allow me 1 minute or maybe two to show you just one of the things dear Keir and dear Charlie wants to hide from you by sending Has No Brains to Ukraine. Now, I read this piece forwarded to me by one of you a few days ago, but I needed to sleep on it in order to get my thoughts ordered. So the UK government announced £73.4 million funding for faith communities for 2026-2027. Money which in a large part is to be spent on protecting their places of worship. So here is the breakdown. Muslim community, £40 million. Jewish community, £28.4 million. Christian, Hindu, Sikh and others get a portion of only 5 million. Okay, so please correct me if I'm wrong. About 6.5% of the overall British population is Muslim, but they receive almost 60% of the funding. I do not really understand that mathematics, but if I'm wrong, please, like I said, correct me in the comment section. But if I'm right, then no wonder Keir and dear Charlie are sending has no balls or brains to Ukraine. I'm surprised they did not ask him to perform naked. Oh, and please don't tell me dear Keir with his Ukrainian rent boys who just, torched his car and attacked one of his homes for absolutely no reason, and his brother, dear Charlie, had nothing to do with Harry going to the Ukraine. I'm not falling for it, okay? So don't even try and convince me. As a British citizen and as a member of the royal family, Harry, like the rest of all British citizens, do not need a visa to enter Ukraine, at least not until 2027. But what he does need is proof of the purpose of his visit, i.e. an invitation letter. And obviously he also needs proof of where he will be staying while in the Ukraine. Okay, so who issued him that invitation to go speak in Ukraine? Please, Keir and his dearest papa. Obviously between the two of them, okay? But then, okay. They didn't do it themselves, of course not. They let their secretaries do it. But you know what I mean. Who approved the additional security? Hey, hello Casper, Stinky Stretch, and whatever the other one's name is. Okay, sarcasm is not needed, all right? Additional security was obviously supplied by Ravik. Now, who told Ravik to have a few more men ready? Well, take your pick. It's either Keir or Charles. And again, okay. I know it wasn't them per se, but it would have been their private secretaries. Oh, how wonderful it is to always have someone at your beck and call whom you can blame. Wasn't me. Look, my hands are clean. No gunpowder residue. Just don't test my secretary or butler or private secretary, okay? Yep, I mean, that is how Charles functioned and stayed afloat for all of his life. Even as a child. It wasn't me, it was him or it was her. We all know those kids who become those kind of adults. So yeah, while we are angry or irritable with Harry's blah 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 on a world stage, these two, Keir and Charles, are selling the country right from under your asses. But let's look at what Bumfluff Toilet Mouse has no intelligence nor balls had to say. Now, before I even quote from this ninth world wonder in stupidity, let me say this. I was still rolling with laughter late last night. I wanted to tell Dragon Man about Hazzy addressing President Putin directly, but it took me about 15 minutes to stop laughing before I could tell him, and by then we were both laughing. We laughed about as much as we did the other day when we read his biology in a Japanese accent. Anyway, my friends, here we have an ex-royal who sneaked into the United States, who is married to a cable TV actress, who is indeed crazier than he is, with 2 children who may just as well belong to their neighbor for all we know, a guy who barely finished school. I mean, if he did not get help from whoever, according to gossip, it was a teacher who helped him. But never mind, he went to the army and fought a war from his bunker. Or if you believe him, his idea of a war was shooting at civilians on bicycles and scooters. So, I mean, it's up to you. You can choose which story of his you actually believe. The second one about shooting at civilians on bicycles and scooters actually came out of his own slit of a mouth, and it is also indeed in his book. So seeing that came out of his mouth, that one is likely the lie. But okay, never mind, no further education, no life experience, just this less than average bald guy. Yet he addresses President Putin directly from a podium in Ukraine. President Putin, he says, no nation benefits from the continued loss of life we are witnessing. Yeah, oh, Pres Putin. Listen up, my bra. Harry not told you. He told you, standing at a podium in Ukraine, to show you how serious he is. You better stop, old President Putin, or Harry will cry, or he will throw his toys out of the cot. Beware, President Putin, the has no balls have donned his cape to not only solve the Ukraine war, but also the war on Iran, with his pink cape and bum fluff blowing in the wind. You will have a has no balls visiting your territory soon to solve your problems. What a hero! I'm sure someone told President Putin about this and that he seriously considered sending a missile to put Britain out of its misery. But unfortunately, he laughed so much that he couldn't do it. And once he stopped laughing, he thought about what Trump basically said a while ago. The poor twat is already being disciplined enough by his wife. So just let the poor thing go. However, we are laughing and mocking him now. But the fact is that we can continue to pretend that this idiot is harmless and just spewing vitriol for the sake of it, or then the money. But the nonsense he utters is indeed not innocent or harmless. Why? Well, because it is not. Even if we give Harry some grace and say, okay, he was a soldier, then that still does not qualify him to address a world leader from a public stage. Also, there are indeed people who believe that President Putin woke up one morning and decided to bomb Ukraine. Those of us who can actually read know by now that it is not true. Ukraine had indeed been pushing Russia's buttons for a very, very long time. Many years, to be exact. We have also seen Zelensky shooting his mouth off, wanting to become involved in the fight in Iran. Why? Because the little short shit wants to sell Ukraine's drone technology to other countries. That is why. But yeah, I'm wading into dangerous territory here, so let's leave it there. The entire point is that this kind of political speech should not come out of any royal's mouth, let alone Harry's. It is indeed, no matter how much we joke about it, no matter how nasty or funny we get, it is indeed dangerous rhetoric for not only Harry and the royal family, but for England, for Ukraine, and ultimately down the line for everybody else. Also, from the Montecito pair's standpoint, they have now abused every possible cause they could possibly think of. Sick children, veterans, disabled people, school shootings, wildfires, etc., etc. And I'm telling you, a poll in yesterday's Express showed that the number of people who wants Harry's title stripped has now climbed to 97%, with 0 not knowing what to do and only 3% saying no. Now, if that does not sink into Charles's brain, then I can only believe that he does have chemo brain. Because you don't need to believe me. Honestly, you don't. I know there are a lot of you who think that I'm just talking shit. That's fine by me. I know what I know, and I'm not going to come here and spend half an hour to defend myself. I'm not going to do it. You believe whatever you want. I don't really give a damn anymore. So, I mean, if it's not Charles not listening to his people, then where the hell is Keir Starmer? Where are the both of them? Are they both deaf and blind? Don't you see that the world is laughing at you? But please note, it is not a ha 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 laugh. It is a laugh telling you to pull your fingers out of your behind and do something about this walking, talking, wind-up clown. Yes, of course, people are saying things like, Keir has more important things to think about. Well, I bet he has. I hear his wife finally packed her things and their children and left. Good for her. If you are, however, talking about the Iran and Ukraine wars and the internal conflict in Britain, well then, sorry to inform you, but Harry has just placed himself squarely in the middle of the Ukraine war. In the political arena. He stood up on that podium and took a side. Now, once you make a stand and you take a side, you have to be ready to fight on that side. Those are the rules of any war and any fight. But, my dears, at the end of the day, that is where Keir Starmer and King Charles, both of them, allowed Harry to go. And where they better get him out, and they better shut his mouth, or there will be a level of consequence which neither they nor you may want. And I'm not a doom and gloom prophet. That is the truth. Okay, my dear friends, I'm going to leave this here for a minute. I have lots and lots to still talk to you about, but we'll leave that for the next one. So until then, please take good care of yourselves and stay safe. Bye.